Sri Kapil Sibal. Sri Kapil Sibal. No, no, Sri Kai, no, no. I'm not. Sri Kapil Sibal. Okay, sit down.
The color indicates the direction for which we are going. Saffronization.
Sri Kapil Sibal, sit down. Sri Kapil
Mr.
Sibal, yes,
Deputy
please.
Chairman, sir, I thank you for giving me this opportunity to participate in this debate. Sir, I have read very carefully the recommendations of the TSR committee to the government. And I'm glad that the government, the minister has now said that these are all inputs and they will be looked at by the cabinet and then you will come back to us. But sir, I have to say that after going through this report, I was deeply disappointed because there is no direction in this draft. So at the heart of any education policy is the issue of access, the issue of quality, and the issue of equity. All three must go hand in hand. If you have access without quality, you will produce uneducated children. If you have quality without access, the whole purpose of education is lost because we have 20 crore children going to school today. And if you have quality and you have access, but you don't have equity, and you leave out the minorities, and you leave out the scheduled castes, and you leave out the scheduled tribes, I think that will be an incomplete education policy. And this draft that has been put up before you lacks in addressing issues of access, issues of quality, and issues of equity. And that is the first comment I wish to make. Sir, let me just give you an example. There are 200 million children, that's 20 crore children who go to school today. But we are talking about children who enter class 1. As you move up the ladder and you go to secondary and upper secondary, the enrollment ratio decreases. And if you look at the numbers, ultimately a very small percentage reach class 12. When we came to power in the UPA, the gross enrollment ratio, and let me explain what gross enrollment ratio is. Gross enrollment ratio is the percentage of children who reach university who have reached class 12. That's gross enrollment ratio. And very few reach class 12. But the gross enrollment ratio of India at that point in time, and I'm talking about 2009, was around 12.4. Sitaramji talked about 8%. It was 12.4. When we brought in the Right to Education Act, we wanted to give an impetus to access. Because the more access there is, the greater number of children will reach university. And the result was that by the time we reached 2014, the gross enrollment ratio had increased from 12.4% to almost 19%. There was a 7-point percentage increase. Why is that important, sir? And there I come to the second aspect of what I wish to say. It's important, why? Because the more children reach universities, the greater will be the innovation. All ideas are seeded in the university system. Industry only translates those ideas into wealth. So the more children you have in the university, the greater the possibility of the nation being wealthy in terms of ideas. And the greater the possibility of translating those ideas into goods and services. So if you look at any OECD country, you will find that the gross enrollment ratio in the top European countries and in the United States of America is around 50%. 50%. The global average of gross enrollment ratio is 27%. And we are still, and the figures, the 2013 figures show that in the meantime, the gross enrollment ratio has reached 23%. So you need to address the issue of access. And the only way you can address it is to give the right of education to children from class 8 to class 12. Because once you give them, make that a fundamental right, then you will have more children going into the university system. And if you have more children going into the university system, you will obviously have a larger gross enrollment ratio, and that in terms will help access. Now, sir, I don't see any thought on that in your draft that has been put up before you. Now, sir, let me talk about quality. As far as quality is concerned, you say that we are addressing the issues of quality by bringing in ICT into the system, that is communication technologies into the system. Now, sir, I'm very sorry to say this is going to take a long time, because the only way to bring ICT technology into the school system is to first have a fiber optic network. Now, your fiber optic network is not in place, and it will take years for it to be in place. The fiber optic network policy was started by our government. We had allocated 20,000 crores for the fiber optic network, but it's not made any progress. It's at a standstill. Now, unless you connect all the villages in India with a fiber optic network, and then you have a last mile connectivity to the school system, you are not going to get ICT into schools. So how are you going to deal with the issue of quality? That's only one part of it. Let me talk of another aspect which is at the heart of quality, and that is teachers. Now, sir, you would be surprised to know that teachers have to be trained in teachers training institutes. Now, how many teachers training institutions do we have in this country? And I'll give you some shocking figures. It's interesting to note that in South India, and this is divided on a regional basis, the number of government teachers training institutions are 78,017, and I'm giving you figures of 15th of March 2013. And the number of private institutions, teachers training institutions, are 12 lakhs 17,784. Government 78,000, private 12 lakhs. And there is no regulation. There is no regulatory network. So you're getting teachers who are untrained. And if teachers are untrained, how are you going to teach our children? There is no thought of this in this draft education policy as to how you're going to deal with training of teachers. You talked about a 4-year B.Ed exam, an integrated BA, BSc, B.Ed exam, a 4-year course. But how are you going to implement this in the context of these private institutions? So what's happening is they are churning out teachers, untrained teachers, bogus degrees. Then they are the ones who are teaching in school, and you're expecting quality education in this country. So what's the point of having a draft policy of this nature which doesn't address these issues? Now let me come to the issue of equity, which is also not addressed in this draft education policy. Now, it's very interesting, these figures. Sir, the net attendance ratio for Muslims at a secondary level are 39%. And I'm talking about Muslim children who reach class 10. Of the children who reach class 10, only 39% reach class 10. Hindus 54%, SCs 49%, STs 46%. For rural, the figures are Muslims 37%, Hindus 51%, rural SC 47%, and ST 45%. And when they reach higher secondary stage, the net attendance ratio of Muslims is 7%. 7%. And of that of Hindus, 13%, SCs 9%, STs 7%. And for rural Muslims, it's 6%, Hindus is 10%, SCs is 8%, and STs is 6%. That's the extent to which there is absence of equity in our education system. Your draft policy does not address it. So if you don't address access, you don't address quality, you don't address equity, Why do you want to have a draft education policy, and what are you going to apply your mind to? This is indeed a thoughtless exercise. Sir, the next point I wish to make is that all education is ideology neutral. No education system can survive in the world if you infuse within the textbooks ideology. And the problem, sir, is that while we have a draft education policy, what you do in the ground, what you are doing on the ground is just the opposite. You are trying to bring about a change in the education system outside the outside your education policy by bringing ideology into every institution in India. Shaktiman ki laat todi, Shaktiman ki laat todi, Vemula ki himmat. शक्तिमान की लात तोड़ी वेमोला की हिम्मत, जो छात्रों पे वार करे, कैसी होगी वो संगत. This is what you are doing to my country. You are attacking the minorities. You are attacking our tribals. You are attacking the SCs. You are attacking the STs. And you are saying we're going to change the textbooks of histories. Dinanath will be the icon who will teach what is going to happen in schools. Then, wonderful statement in your policy. You say universities should be politics free. No, they say universities should, in this policy statement. But what you are doing to universities? Your ABVP is entering into every university campus, occupying vice chancellors' offices, and it's creating an environment of violence, running a parallel administration. That's what you are doing on the ground. Who have you appointed in the ICHR? Who have you appointed in the National Book Trust in India? Your editor, past editor of Panchjanya, is now the head of the Book Trust of India, National Book Trust of India, and you're talking about a national education policy which is ideology-free, which is independent. So why be hypocritical? I think what you should do is, you should set out a white paper and tell us we are the Sangh and all ideology will be related to what the RSS says. You tell us that, it's all right. We'll discuss that, we'll debate it in the country. But don't sort of put smoke in our eyes. You have saffronized every post in this country, from governors to heads of institutions, your vice chancellors, your IIT directors. We know how they have been chosen. Completely communalized. So, sir, I think we need to think. We need to think how we want to take our education forward. The other thing that's very important, and I request you to consider it, and that is that when you look at education, never look at it from the point of view of the government. Never also look at it from the point of view of the institution. Put yourself in the shoes of the child. Make yourself see through the eyes of the child. And when you see through the eyes of the child, you will understand that child's aspirations. You will understand what he or she wants. And that's how you will be able to have an education policy that serves 20 crore children of our country. Your draft education policy doesn't look at education through the eyes of the child. What does the child today want? Let's see a child who passes out of class 12. What does he want? He wants a job. But he finds that his education system is completely unrelated to the opportunities in the market. So that's what the child wants. But how have you, in this draft education policy, catered to his needs or her needs? You have not. These are just platitudes. You said you will have a central service, you will have a education service in India. What's the point of having an education service? How are you going to serve 20 crore children through the education service? You will only have an elite class of IAS officers in the education service. That's what will happen. And they will serve you, they will say exactly, they will do what you want them to do, as they are doing now. As Sita Ramji rightly said, you are centralizing everything. So, and then you say you want a permanent education commission, a continuing education commission. What will that commission do? We have no idea. Sir, come up with something that will serve the long-term interests of India. So now each institution in this country should be accredited. You have NAC, National Accreditation Institute, but that NAC doesn't have the wherewithal to all the institutions in this country. You should have a system of accrediting schools. You should have a system of accrediting in higher educational institutions. Now, which is that agency which is going to do that? NAC doesn't have the wherewithal. So what are your thoughts on that? Unless you accredit institutions for quality, how are you going to take quality forward? You won't be able to take quality forward. I see nothing in this draft education policy that deals with accreditation of institutions. And this is something that was at the forefront of the Sam Pitroda commission that we had set up, the report that he had finalized. The Yashpal committee talked about it. How are you going to change the UGC structures? At the moment, sir, 16 minutes. The distinguished speaker, who had 5 minutes, you asked him to speak for 30. Since you have rung the bell, I will sit down.
Sir, it's a very important issue, sir.
I have no, see, Kapilji, I have no problem.
No,
You
sir,
can-
but I'm saying I saw you. There were 5 minutes for him, and you gave him 30, and you are ringing the bell on 17. I don't mind. I'll sit down, sir.
No, no. No, no.
I'll sit down, sir. That's not
No,
an
it
issue.
is not. I'll tell you. I'll tell you. No, it's for me to explain that. Kapilji,
Yes, sir.
the practice here is the person who initiates will be given the time maximum to up to 30 minutes. That's the practice here.
Right, sir.
So the number one.
Right, sir.
Second thing, I have no problem. You can take 37 minutes. That is your party's
No,
time.
sir, I don't want to say.
No. But why
I believe in discipline.
No, yeah. Why?
I will finish in 2 minutes.
It's only a
I
reminder.
will finish in 2 minutes.
No. You take time as much as you want. I have no problem. The only thing is that your party has given 9 names. That is all what I want. 9 names. Arey, you sit down. I'll take care of that. You don't mind. Therefore, you can take full time. I have no problem.
No, sir,
I will
don't
only
know.
cut to
No,
their
I
time.
will finish in 5 minutes, sir.
Yeah.
I'll finish in 5 minutes.
You do it. You take.
I'm just trying to, I think this
You
is
take. I am not controlling you. You take.
No, sir. No,
You
sir.
speak. No problem.
No, sir. The point that I was making was, my. Sir,
I will manage. You need not manage. It is my job. No.
Sir.
You may or may not sit. It is not my job. Don't reach me. I know what to do. Don't make unnecessary comments. Yes.
sir, the other problem that I believe is very serious in this country, is many of the teachers, now of course we have a rule that you have a central eligibility test and a state eligibility test. And the distinguished minister is very familiar with this and he'll know the figures. But if I remember correctly, many those who are teaching and who sat in the central eligibility test, only 1% passed it. 99% of teachers failed the central eligibility test. And you're talking about quality. And the same is the state of affairs as far as the state eligibility test is concerned. So privatization is happening. To that extent, Sitaramji is right. And those private institutions are not accredited. They give bogus degrees. Those people become teachers. And then you have a wonderful document like this which talks about quality. There's a complete mismatch between what's the cold print and what's happening on the ground. So we need, and this is not quite frankly, a political matter, because the children of this country are at the heart of what India is going to be in the future. And unless we empower those children, and that's the other point I wish to make, education is not about politics, it's about empowerment. Correct. It's not about politics, it's about empowerment. It's not about ideology, sir. It's about empowerment. And unless you empower our children, you're not going to have a nation that will move forward. And sir, Sitaramji talked about the demographic dividend. What demographic dividend are we talking about, sir? The most number of children who go to school are from my state, Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. And that's where the numbers are abysmal. That's where the least number of children are able to go to school and college. And that's where the dividend lies. So you need to have a focused strategy to deal with states where there are maximum number of young people. Uttar Pradesh, Bihar. What is your strategy? Where is it reflected in the draft education policy? Nowhere. So it's not a holistic document at all. It's a document which is for, like everything else in this country, it's for TV. For somebody to have a debate at 9 o'clock at night, prime time, what a wonderful document this is. This document is for that. It's nothing to do with what's going to happen on the ground. So, sir, the other thing I want to mention, you have mentioned that there are a lot of disputes within the university system that you're going to have to set up tribunals. That's what he said. We're going to have, like the administrative tribunal, we're going to set up tribunals to resolve disputes. Then you say you're going to bring in, set up 100 innovation universities. I don't know what innovation is. Are they going to teach RSS ideology? That's an innovation. What innovation universities? And what, are you going to have reservation in those innovation universities? You'll have to have SC reservation, ST reservation. Foreign universities are going to comply with the laws of India. Will the reservation policy apply to them? What salaries will those teachers be given? Will they be given higher salaries than teachers in universities in India? Sir, the world is moving differently. Let me tell you, sir, what's happening in the United States and what's going to happen here. People actually are not interested in setting up campuses in India at all because it involves too much investment. So the universities abroad are pushing for education through ICT. They say you will get your degree through the internet. And they will then set up joint ventures of this nature, and you will have no control over it. Because your law will not be able to regulate what's being sent from outside. What's your thought on that? Because that's what's happening today. Nothing in the new education policy. So, sir, I don't want to take more time. My request to you is, dump this draft in the dustbin. Start afresh. Take us into confidence. Let some real educationists and bright educationists in the head the committee, correct? Let them have full consultations with all states. Let's get together, because more important than industry, more important than ICT, the most important thing in this country is education. And let's work on it together, hand in hand. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.